Hey friends, this garden looks absolutely wild and chaotic after a long summer filled with blooms and feeding the pollinators. But just in a few easy steps, we're going to bring a little bit of calm to the chaos that is this garden. Of course, this is right behind the cottage garden. The garden shed, and so I had tons of flowers in here that fed the pollinators and the hummingbirds all season long. But y'all, it is the end of November and it is wild, and so we are going to bring, like I said, some calm to this chaos. So I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how possibly you could get your annuals to come back for you the next year, and then just some general tips cleaning up. We've got butterfly bushes in here, we've got irises, and just all sorts of great things in here that we're going to take care of, and I'm going to share with you, like I said, those tips and tricks. So let me just walk you through right quick. And this is a full sun garden this morning, so we're going to be fighting the sun just a little bit, but it is quite chaotic looking in here. But you just imagine when it was, filled with flowers. Of course, this massive section right here that is full of brown, that is vermillionaire. And vermillionaire, of course, is the fantastic annual that your hummingbirds go nuts over. So we're going to clean this up, but I'm going to give you a little trick because I have got tons of daffodils planted under here and I want to protect them. So I've got a tip for that. Then we have the wall of brown. This was a wall of chartreuse, beautiful green that brought a little bit of privacy in disguise, because remember, this used to be our chicken coop, and so that was the sweet potato vine. That is the upside key lime, bright chartreuse. So we're going to pull that out, clean it up. I have got salvias in here that are still like green. The flowers are absolutely gone, but I'm going to show you a trick on how to see if your salvias will come back as a perennial for you. Same thing with guara. We have got some monarda in here we need to clean up. Irises, there are some things that we need to do to our irises. We've got to prune them back for the winter. We've got gorgeous butterfly bushes, and we can talk about that. And then even my hollies, they are just a little wild and crazy, so I'm going to give them a little trim. And then my Mexican sunflower, the Tethonia. So first things first, what we are going to do is talk about, let's tackle the vermillionaire. So the vermillionaire, like I said, here on the corner, that is the brown, we have massive amounts of hummingbirds and pollinators that absolutely adore this plant. And I decided to do it in mass right here to bring a huge pop of color, and of course to support those great little critters that we love to have in our garden. When we had that hard freeze of that, it was like 25 degrees, obviously it zapped it big time. So what we're going to do is, because back in the spring I planted these after my daffodils were coming up. Like, you could see where the daffodils were. I think maybe they'd already bloomed. So I did the vermillionaire and planted it in between there. So you can see some of my daffodils are already coming up. I don't want to risk the, when I pull out the vermillionaire, that I would accidentally pull out any of my bulbs. So what I'm going to do is actually just cut it straight to the ground. And as I'm looking, I see that there is still some green in there. There is a slight chance, a slight possibility that the vermillionaire could come back for me. It came back for Mama for a couple of years, but just remember, it is an annual. You can try to overwinter it, but if it does, awesome. And if it doesn't, then that's okay. That's why we sell it as an annual. So what I'm going to do is, I have my clippers, my Felcos. I'm literally going to cut it straight to the ground. Cut to the ground, throw it in the back of Johnny, and then probably we'll tackle the wall of brown back here next. Okay, my friends, so as simple as that. Just cut them to the ground with that vermillionaire. You will see that depending on, like on the, kind of on the outside, you can see where the daffodils are coming up. If your spring flowering bulbs, like your daffodils, your jonquils, your anemones, those kinds of things, if they are pushing new growth like mine are, don't worry. Y'all, these plants are tough. They can handle it. They're still going to flower in the spring and all will be well. So those are coming up. You can see more in the inside because the bulbs are there, but because they were being shadowed out by the vermillionaire, they're still not quite have emerged as much as the others. And then you can see down in there where that is the vermillionaire that's still a little green. If it comes back, wow, that would be amazing. If it doesn't, not a problem. I certainly had an amazing season with that vermillionaire in here. Now, as far as the sweet potato vine, I planted 4 of the grande size containers in here, and you can see that it was extremely vigorous, right? So it completely covered the wall. And in fact, it overtook one of my rows of Sharon right here. So these 2 rows of Sharon were the exact same size. They're the exact same kind when I planted them. And this one is significantly taller because it didn't get overtaken like this guy did. So that tells me that next year I will not plant this sweet potato vine on to the base and so that it can hide it, because I need my shrubs to take over. So this was probably the last year that I have the climbing sweet potato vine. But if you're looking for something that will be a rapid grower to climb a trellis, an arbor, an old chicken coop, whatever it is, that climbing sweet potato vine will do it. And once you kind of get it started, you don't have to go in there. It will self-twine all the way up. So it comes in the lime green and then it comes in the black. They are fantastic. So what I'm going to do is just go in there and just rip as much as I can off of the paneling. Like I said, there's 4 in there, so I'll grab those root balls, pull those out, and clean up this area. And then up against the wall, we had Cleome. I had both Senorita Rosalita and Senorita Blanca. Those will not come back, so I will just go in there and pull those out. My Rose of Sharon, I am not going to prune. Now, Rose of Sharon do bloom on new growth, but now's not the time to prune it. You prune these like the same time you do your panicle hydrangeas. So for me in North Carolina, a zone 8A, that means more like mid-February through mid-March. So my Rose of Sharon, they are being left alone. I'm just gonna pull out the sweet potato vine and pull out the Cleome. And then, well, let's go ahead and talk about the salvia and the guara. So both the salvia and the guara, we sell as an annual, as does Proven Winners. However, if you look on the tag, it will say annual except in zones, and then it will list them. Both the unplugged So Blue, which is what is here, huge pollinator attractor by the way, and the guara can be most likely a perennial for me in zone 8A. So what I'm going to do is simply cut them to the ground. I did this before with my other unplugged So Blue, but basically what I'm going to do is cut it, and you see all this foliage right here, this I'm going to leave. I'm just going to cut the stalks off. So there'll be a little bit of a mound of green right here. So I'm going to cut here, and cut here. Same thing with the guara. So I'm going to cut all the foliage off the top. The sun, y'all, is just being a boogeroo today. So I'm just going to come and shear it to the ground. There's a little bit of green down here, and so we should be good to go. So got a couple more things to get checked off my list. We're going to get the chaos cleaned up in here. All right, my friends, so I've got all of the salvias cut back. I've got the guara cut back, and then I pulled out the portulaca that was in the front. So we did the Mojave mango this past year. It was a new one, and oh my goodness, it was gorgeous. Now, it's definitely not going to come back for me. So I went ahead and pulled it out along the border. Now, what we have are, these are eyeliner irises. These are come from Walter's Gardens, and we need to get them cleaned up. So the green foliage, what we're going to do is we're going to cut it back to about 6 to 8 inches tall, and we're going to kind of cut it on an angle. So that way when it rains, the water sheds off of it. Any of the brown that is laying down, it's kind of like, you know, like a daylily. We're going to cut off the brown because obviously we don't need that to stay. So if there's any brown, you can just go ahead and cut that out. And then, like I said, the green, 6 to 8 inches up, and we're gonna just slice it at an angle. So like that. And we're gonna get it all cleaned up, and it's going to make a huge difference in here because these eyeliners, they love this spot. They are a gorgeous iris in the fact that they've got some cream, some purple. I mean, they have got a little bit of yellow in there. Just beautiful, very happy, very vigorous. In fact, maybe in the spring, I may need to go ahead and divide these out because they are loving this bed. This bed is on drip irrigation. We have turned it off, of course, for the winter because we don't need it going for the winter. But yeah, so it loves this bed, and every so many years, you're going to need to go ahead and divide your irises. However, I'm not going to do that today. Today, my goal is just to get everything cleaned up. So I'm going to get the irises cut back, and then I have my Tethonia, the Mexican sunflower. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that to help me get lots more babies next year. All 5 of the eyeliner irises have been cut back. I'm going to show you everything when we get done here. What we're going to do next, we've got basically 2 things left to do. So this lovely conglomeration of brown twigs is Tethonia. Tethonia is Mexican sunflower, and it is about the easiest plant to grow. It does get some size to it, so it gets a little bit big, but it is a massive pollinator attractor specifically for your butterflies of all shapes and sizes. So Mexican sunflower has these they're like silky stems. They're not the best for cut flowers, but they are amazing, like I said, to attract the butterflies to your garden. Beautiful, bright orange flowers on it. And it is a rapid grower. So this plant was a volunteer from last year's plant. So that's what I'm going to do is as I'm pulling this, I'm just going to kind of shake it to get any little seeds to come off so that I can have lots of little babies next year. And in fact, it looks like it has already put out most of the seeds. So I'm just going to, like I said, give it a good shake as I pull it out because yeah, there may be 2 plants. There's one here, and I think there's one over there. So it comes right out. But look, this was one plant, y'all. It's crazy. So I will have tons of little baby volunteers here next year that I can easily like dig up and move to different areas if I want. But yeah, so there you go, Tethonia. Pulling it out and shaking it as I go. And then my holly trees. I've got really like these 2 next door to me. They've got these rogue branches that are really, really tall in the center, and it's just driving me crazy. So I am just going to cut them back. This is not the time that you want to prune your holly because these hollies actually flower, and it is another huge pollinator attractor, but the tall stems in the center are driving me nuts. So I'm just going to shape it up at the tippy top, but I'm not cutting anything off the side, just the top, so the crown can go away. But yeah, Tethonia, great one. It's also great if you're looking to do like your monarchs. Monarchs love this plant to feed on. Ta-da! We have brought some neat, tidy cleanliness to the crazy chaotic that was this flower bed hour and a half ago. And there you go, my friends, all cleaned up for the fall and the winter. Literally have nothing to do else with this bed until we're coming out of winter and going into spring. I'm telling you over and over and over again, neat and tidy is much better than just, you know, the mess, right? Even if the plants weren't in here, just having that neat and tidy just makes me so happy in this space. And so, yeah, what we're gonna do is the irises have been cut back. Definitely know that come this spring, I'm gonna need to divide them. How do I know that? Well, see how in the center they're starting to get thin? So that's a great sign that they need to be divided. Y'all, these were like single little sample plants and they have just taken off. There's 5 clumps total, so there's 2 on this side, and then coming over here are the other 3 right there, and just huge, but they are beautiful blooms. So yeah, I love them. And you can see that the salvias have been cut back, the guaras, everything, the monarda, I even cut back the monarda. Y'all, same thing. The monarda for me in a zone 8A, it's kind of what I call like a semi-evergreen. It'll keep that low green habit on it, so you kind of see where it is. All I did was just take off the tall stuff, and then the green that's there, we just leave that matte, and there you go. So it'll bounce back, no problem whatsoever. Butterfly bushes, again, overachievers. This is the Cherry Royale, gorgeous. The butterflies go nuts over this butterfly bush. So come early spring, when I start to see new growth on these guys, I am going to cut them back big time. So like probably more than half. Like I am going to really cut them. It is so interesting though that this flower bed is definitely a very hot spot. And so last year, these guys were pushing new growth way before anybody else was in the garden. Hence why my salvia still looks so good. There was one salvia around here somewhere that had buds on it. So even though we had 25, 26 and it fried most of it, of course it warms back up here in North Carolina. And so they were trying to push out new growth and new buds. So all that to say is I probably can trim these butterfly bushes earlier, even like maybe a month earlier than I would butterfly bushes, say like the pink Cascade 2 that is on the berm that gets exposed to more colder temperatures. So then we got the holly trees. These are Nellie Stevens. No, they're not. They're Oaklands. Sorry. So Oaklands are a little bit more going to be more petite than a Nellie Stevens. And so just got them, you know, just got those tall ones out. Nothing too crazy, just enough that doesn't drive me crazy anymore. But yeah, and so this is a white star magnolia. Again, do nothing, leave it alone. It's still losing its leaves, so we're just gonna let it do its thing, and then boom, there you go. So everything is cleaned up, neat and tidy. Makes me so happy to have this neat and tidy again. And yeah, but it is a huge pollinator attractor for my friends in the summertime, in the heat of the summer. So this is a great space to have it because it is super hot, super sunny, and then of course it has the irrigation in there, so then the plants just absolutely thrive. Next year, I don't know. We'll see what comes back. I have a feeling that the salvia and the guara will come back because this is such a warm area. So as long as they come back, then I don't need to plant anything in the interior. Vermillionaire, I very seriously doubt it will come back. Maybe it will. That would be great. And the only thing that would be left, if I wanted to, would be something along the border. So if I want to put an annual in here on the border, I certainly can do that. But we'll be definitely dividing the irises come the springtime. So as always, my friends, I hope you have found this fun and informative. And y'all have an amazing day. We will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.